Now we have learned about lists before. Tuples may look similar at first, but they behave quite differently. Let's learn exactly what tuples are, how they work, and why Python has them in the first place. So to define a tuple, I'm going to write a variable called myTuple, and to write a tuple instead of square brackets like lists, we use parentheses, and then we write the elements like apple, then banana, and then cherry. Now if I write the print statement and pass my tuple and run the code, you'll see it prints the tuple. Now a tuple is a collection of items just like a list, but instead of using square brackets like list, a tuple uses parentheses, as I said before. The items inside a tuple are ordered, which means the position of each item is fixed, and that follows the list behavior. Like this apple has the index of 0, this banana has the index of 1, and cherry has the index of 2. So the indexing starts from 0. In other way, you can say index equal position minus 1. So you can see apple is in the first position, so 1 minus 1, so the index is 0. Another thing is that tuples are immutable. I said that in one of my previous video as well. That means we can't change a tuple after it is created. So if we try to modify by using the index, if I try to change banana to blueberry, as you can see, Python tells that this is not allowed by the yellow squiggly lines. Again, if I write the print statement and pass my tuple and run the code, you can see it throws error and it says tuple object does not support item assignment. Now there can be a question, why we use tuples if we can't change them? It is a great question. Let me remove this code and comment them. Let's take another example, like you are trying to sort a user date of birth. So date of birth, this is a variable, and there we have a tuple. At first we have the birth year, and let's say the month and the day date. So as you can see, if I print this date of birth, run the code, it prints that. Now what I am trying to say is this data will never be changed, so you don't want it to be modified accidentally. So when you want a data should not be changed, that's when a tuple makes more sense than a list. It keeps your data safe. Let's think you are working on a program where more programmers are working. You have defined this date of birth, another programmer mistakenly changes this, so that you don't want. So to overcome that, we use tuples. So whenever another programmer tries to change this, Python throws error. So tuples are used when you need fixed data that want to change, or you want to protect the data and you want faster performance than lists, because tuples are lighter than lists, which offers more performance. Now let me comment them and let's talk about some common mistake beginners make. And the first one is, for example, we want to take a tuple with a single element. We can do that with a list as well. With a single element we can create a list, but in case of tuple, here we have a gotcha. So if I write a variable called a single underscore tuple equal, then parenthesis, and in between double quotes, if I write apple, okay, then if I write the print statement and pass that single tuple, as you can see we have a yellow squiggly line. If I print this code, let's see what happens. As you can see, it prints just apple, but it does not have parentheses. That means it is not a tuple in the output. So let's see what is the type of our single tuple variable. Okay, so now if I run the code, you can see it says the type of single tuple is a string, but this should be a tuple. If you add more items in the tuple banana and run the code, you can see the type is tuple, but when you take one element, it says string. It behaves correctly when there is more items than one, but if you have only one item, then it says the data type is a string. Now, how to overcome this? Because you might need a tuple with one element. For that, you just have to add a comma after the element. So now, if you run the code, you'll see it prints the type is tuple. If you remove the type method and run the code, you can see it prints saying that it is a tuple. Now let me comment this code as well, and let's see another topic, and that is tuple packing. So if we take a variable, you can name this anything. Here let's say I have colors like red, then green, and then blue. As you can see, we are not using square brackets or parentheses here. Now if I write the print statement and pass packed and run the code, you can see Python made these strings into a tuple. So this is called tuple packing. If you don't put parentheses, Python automatically turn the elements into a tuple. You can check by using the type method. So if you write the type method and pass packed and run the code, you'll see the type is tuple. So this tuple packing is often used along with a concept called unpacking. Okay, here we can take another tuple called new tuple, and let's have different types of data. For example, Naruto, which is a string, then 1, which is an integer, then a price, which is a floating point number, then again a string called Hinata, and then a boolean called true. Now we have discussed that we can access the values of a tuple with the index. For example, I can write here the print statement, then new tuple, and then square brackets. Make sure to use square brackets. So while accessing, you don't use parentheses, but you use square brackets just like lists. So here, if I pass the index and run the code, you'll see it prints 9.99. Okay, we can work with negative indexing as well. So if I write here -1, it will start counting from the last. So -1 will print true, means this element. If I run the code, as you can see, it prints true. If I write here -2 or 3 and run the code, you can see it prints 9.99 because this has the index of -1, this has -2, and this has -3. Now we saw in our list videos that there is a concept called list slicing, and similarly that in tuple we have a range of indexes. So range of indexes. So for example, if you want to access the elements from 1 to Hinata, how will you do that? So for that, you can write the index of 1, which is 1, because Naruto has the index 0 and 1 has the index 1. In the first position, you write the index of an element and then the position of another element. For example, Hinata. Now to access Hinata, you don't give the index of Hinata but the position, which is index +1. So Hinata has index of 3, so the position is 4. Now if you run the code, you can see it prints 1, then 9.99, and then Hinata. So I guess that's all for tuple, and in the next video we're gonna talk about how to update a tuple. Are you confused? Because I told that tuples are immutable, but now I am saying that in the next video we're gonna cover updating a tuple. So to clear your confusions, I'll say to watch the next video. So that's all for now. See you in the next one.